Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom Weekly from the Greater Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. Each week, we share practical spiritual insights designed to support your growth, helping you live with more clarity, compassion, and intention. Wherever you're listening from, we're glad you're here. Let's begin.
I release old limits and welcome fresh understandings. I receive this lesson with gratitude and expectancy, knowing it blesses my life and our world, and so it is. And with that, our lesson for today, Reverend Cindy.
The topic for this month is love, and today we are talking about our family, our clan. How do we love that? We talked about loving yourself last week, and if you practiced loving yourself this week, congratulations. Even if you did it only a little bit, you are doing an advanced spiritual work, learning to love yourself. It can be kind of almost like a full-time job, but we got to get up off our meditation cushion now and take our love and walk it around in our world. So now, when we say clan, it isn't necessarily just talking about the people that we share DNA with. They usually are part of our clan, not always, but most often the DNA share they're going to be somewhere in our clan. But our clan is also our family of choice. And so you may have members of your clan that come from any of your walks of life. They may be from school gone by. Wing, who was up here singing, who just said, I can sing, I'll join you. You and Cheryl are school classmates from 48 years. So, clan. You may have clan that you play sports with or follow a sports team with or work with. So people in your clan are those people that we talk to the most, that we see most often, that we text with most often, and sometimes the people that we avoid most often. These are the folks that tend to be right in the middle of our greatest joys, our moments of greatest sorrow, and all the wonderful messiness that happens in between. So the thing about our clans, they know our stories. They know our habits. They know our history. And they have opinions that they want to share about us and our choices and our decisions and all our other relationships besides the one with them. That's our clan. They want to talk to us about things. They are the people that can lift us up with a single sentence, and the people that can derail an entire day with that look, right? And some of our clan are those people that push buttons, right? I've heard that saying, right? I may push your buttons, but I didn't put them there. Well, yeah. But somebody in our clan more than likely did install those buttons. Now, they may not have done it intentionally, but they put them there and they did it very precisely and made them as permanent as they possibly could, didn't they? Anybody relate to that? Somebody, I heard. Yet those same people, those are the ones who held us when life cracked open. They are the people that showed up when it felt like life was falling apart. They're the people that let us know we're not alone, even when we feel lost. These are the ones that put themselves and their time and their resources and their comfort at our service whenever we need it. They're the people over there shouting from the sidelines with their pom-poms and supporting us, and then critiquing our performance, of course. So here's the deal. There are people who come here to this life intended to be hermits. They're very rare. These are the people that get to go live in the cave on the mountaintop and not be distracted by interactions. They have a path to enlightenment that somehow doesn't require the challenge of interpersonal relationships. But it is obviously not the necessary path for most of us. We are having to deal with these interpersonal relationships. Life is all about relationships. In Science of Mind, we understand that relationships are one of the primary ways that life grows us. Right? How would we grow in the cave on the mountaintop? How would we ever learn more about ourselves? How would we ever determine the depth of our faith and our understanding? I used this quote last week, but I'm going to bring it out again. Ernest Holmes reminds us that life is a mirror and will reflect back to us what we think into it. Well, our clan is one of the most powerful mirrors we have in our lives. In them, we discover ourselves. Sometimes that's inspiring. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes the mirror says, look at how loving you are. And sometimes the mirror says, we need to talk. Some members of our clan show everything that we are wishing and desiring to become, and some faithfully demonstrate all of the things we hope never to repeat in our own lives. And whether they know it or not, both of those extremes are helping our spiritual growth. They're here for us to grow. Now, here's the good news, and maybe somewhat the uncomfortable news. The purpose of our clan is not to make us comfortable. The purpose of our clan is to make us conscious. Our families, chosen or biological, those people are the ones, they bring up what is unhealed, what is unexamined, what is unfinished in our lives. They give us the opportunity to practice love where it matters most and where it's the hardest to fake it. It's hard to fake love in your clan, right? They know what's going on with you. It seems pretty simple to just love humanity as an abstract. Now, I have to admit these days, sometimes they're jumping out of the abstract and kind of getting in my face, and we're having to deal with that. It's harder to keep them out there doing their thing and not feeling like it's in my life. But let's talk about those that are in our lives for sure. So the solution that we have for making the clan the loving, supporting, joyful group that we long for is certainly not asking, how do I get the other people in my clan to change? How do I get those guys to change? Because spiritual growth, if it depended on other people changing first, we would have to wait a very long time for change, wouldn't we? If we're depending on other people to change to make our world the way we want it, we're going to have to wait a while. What we know here in New Thought is that we do not change our lives by trying to change other people. We change our lives by changing our consciousness. And that is it's so obvious, and yet it's really easy to ignore that little detail. Really easy to ignore the fact that the only thing we can change is us. It's the only thing we have control over. It's what we teach in our prayer work too, right? We're not changing God's mind. God's mind never changes. We're changing our understanding and alignment with that. And it's the same in our clan. We have to change our place in the clan. That means we have to stop asking, when will they get it together? When will they realize that they're so wrong? When are they going to start seeing things my way? What we have to start asking is, what am I choosing to be in this relationship? What am I choosing to be in this relationship? And a corollary with that, how do I make myself a shining example of a great clan member? How do I be the change I want to see, right? Those questions, answering those questions, are actually a strong spiritual practice. Because when we take responsibility for our own state of being, something shifts. We move out of reaction into intention. We move from being, first responders to emotions, right? That's kind of racing to deal with our emotions. We move from that to being conscious creators of what we desire in our lives. And that does not mean we're being passive. Love is not passive. Love is powerful. This is where I thought about you, Tony. we had a discussion in our class, and Tony says sometimes I'm strong like bull. And every time I think of strong and powerful now, I'm going to get that image, right? So love is powerful. It is powerful. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. Love can change anything. Loving your clan does not mean tolerating behavior that harms you. It does not mean shrinking yourself to keep the peace. It does not mean pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Love and boundaries are not opposites, they're partners. You remember that old saying, right? Good fences make good neighbors. It's based on truth. It's based on the idea that knowing where the edges are and where you're welcome and where you need to keep your distance and all that is part of making everything work smoothly. So our boundaries are something we are in charge of, and we teach other people to respect our boundaries, and that is not in competition with loving. We can love someone and still say no. We can hold compassion and still hold clarity about what we're seeing and experiencing. We can choose peace without choosing silence. And I have a feeling I'm going to wind up saying that in the next 2 talks about our community and our world. We can choose peace without choosing silence. Love can say, I care about you, and also say, this no longer works for me. Those are not mutually exclusive. They go together, hand in hand. In fact, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the clan as a whole is stop participating in old patterns. Now, changing patterns within a clan is not always easy. Somebody's going to think you're kind of a rough spot that needs to be sanded down, smoothed out. Some cases, they may think you're a nail sitting too high that they need to hammer down. That can be kind of painful within your clan. Oh, I see a nodding head. You might make others uncomfortable in their rut, uncomfortable in their dependency, uncomfortable in their need to control when you decide to make a change. Don't let that stop you. We just talked about you don't tolerate harmful behavior. You don't shrink and you don't pretend. It's all about where it's coming from. When it comes from love, all is well. Because when we lead with love, not sentimentality, not people-pleasing, but grounded spiritual love, we activate a higher law. Love changes the whole atmosphere. Think about this. Every family has a dynamic, a certain emotional temperature to it. And often that dynamic continues because everyone agrees, consciously or unconsciously, to keep playing the same roles. And often our roles got assigned to us by others to serve their needs, not by us. We could have weeks and weeks of conversation about some of these things. But Holmes tells us love points the way, and then the law makes the way possible. When we lead with love, when we lead with this real love that is self-respecting, we set spiritual laws into motion. We change the tone of the dynamic of the room that we're in, of the clan, of the gathering. We shift the emotional climate because we become the place where healing can begin. We bring ourselves as that place of healing. And here's the beautiful part of that. If we want more kindness in our clan, we practice kindness. If we want more understanding, we listen more deeply. And let me put a plug in. The women's group is doing the skill of deep listening today. So have some coffee and stick around, and we are going to get better at being deep listeners. If we want more joy, we stop asking permission to bring joy, and we just cart it along with us and bring it everywhere we go. We don't wait for our clan to become loving so that we can respond in love. We become loving so that love has a place to land. And there's those spiritual laws, right? You probably all heard the law of attraction. That's a big one out there, right? We attract to ourselves what we are, but that starts with what we are, right? So that's one of the laws we activate when we put this love in action. We are activating our power to draw into our lives the kindness and the understanding and all the support that we're looking for. We have a law called the law of mental equivalence. It says I have to have within what I want to see pictured without. So when we start from this place of love and we take ourselves in to be the one that holds the space we want to develop, we are activating the equivalence. And there's another one called the law of correspondence. It says, out there tells me what's going on in here. So if we still don't like what we're seeing, we need to keep working. We need to keep working on what we're bringing into the situation. But when one person changes, the energy they bring into the room can change that whole dynamic. And then there's that opportunity to shift. So we just want to become that person. One person choosing to listen instead of react. One person choosing curiosity. Tell me more. Instead of defensiveness. How dare you? Right? Different. One person choosing to pause instead of escalate. Now, that's not weakness when we do these things. That's mastery. That means we have mastery of our own emotions. We have mastery of our own climate. We are deciding in that moment how we are going to be within the situation we're in. We are mastering our own value. We understand our own purpose in the world. That's us laying claim to what we need and desire. That is us commanding our own experience of every moment and creating the space where we feel that we can thrive. So this week, I invite you to practice 3 simple, of course, simple doesn't always mean easy, 3 simple steps. See the world with spiritual eyes. When you practice seeing the divine in everyone, especially in the ones that test you, you're seeing with spiritual eyes. Now, this doesn't excuse behavior, but it reminds us that everyone is coming from their level of awareness. And when you see spiritually like that, you begin to take things less personally. Thank you, Don Miguel, and the 4 agreements. Taking things less personally is liberating. It is liberating when you understand that that is out there. For some reason, I guess that's throw this story in. When I was doing my interviews to matriculate into ministerial school, I was at the same time coming out of my 2nd round of practitioner studies. And one of the ministers in our conversation was saying, now you do understand that if people come up and complain or have issues with what you've said or talked about, it's not about you. It's something going on with them. And yeah. And she said, and you understand when they come up and compliment you and tell you said exactly what they needed to hear, that's not about you either. Oh, darn, right? But none of it is personal. Take none of it personally, good, bad, or indifferent, because be you, okay? Second thing to do, respond, don't react. Reaction comes from your old programming. Reaction is not always in your control. It comes out on its own, and it's based down in the bottom of the iceberg. It's got all those experiences you ever had and all the meaning and all of the that you've attached to that. And the trigger comes in, and you go, boom, react. That's reaction. Response is a conscious choice. So even one breath, can change the outcome of a conversation. It can change the direction that things are headed. There was a poem that went round about the dash, right? And it was about, on tombstones, you have the years, birth and death date. And that little dash represents the whole of your life. The actual life you lived is the dash. And I think the idea of this pause made me think that way, because in that pause that we take is all of love and all of self-choice. It all lives in the moment of that pause. If you'll just give yourself that pause to let the love and the idea that you control your experience get there. And the third is be the example, right? So we're going to see with spiritual eyes. We're going to respond out of our consciousness, our high consciousness, not react out of our stuff. And now we're going to be the example. So when we want more kindness in the clan, we practice kindness inside the clan and out. If we want more honesty, we speak our truth. with grace and compassion, as gently as we can, but firmly stick with our truth. If we want more joy, we bring it. We go get our friends and we dance. I didn't know it was your favorite song too. I knew it was Candy's because when she was putting it in the bowl, that's my favorite song. And thank you for that. I mean, how perfect was that song? And you're so good. Thank you. So here's the miracle. When we change how we show up, we don't just heal relationships, we heal ourselves, right? We get the benefit. Because every time we choose when we choose love over fear, don't go the wrong direction. When we choose love over fear, our consciousness expands. Every time we choose clarity over conflict, our soul grows. Every time we choose to be the light instead of waiting for somebody else to bring the light, the room gets brighter. So this week, this is the journey. Don't just ask who your clan is, but who you are being within it. Notice where you show up with grace. Give yourself credit when you show up in the right spot, when you show up as a healing presence. And notice where you still have room to grow. Notice when someone pushes a button and see if you can deinstall that thing. Notice that you can show up being curious instead of judgmental. Instead of resentment, bring awareness. Awareness of what's going on, awareness of where somebody else is coming from. Instead of old stories, bring new choices. Because when even one person in a clan begins to live from consciously, intentionally, courageously loving, the whole system can shift. You are not here to fix your family, and they are not here to fix you. They may reflect for you, they may challenge you, they may cheer you, but their job is not to fix you. You are here to find the self you wish to be by living consciously and loving consciously within your clan. And when you do, here's what happens. You become the blessing you were hoping to receive from them. You are your own blessing, receiving all that you are looking for by having it within yourself. And so it is.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Spiritual Wisdom Weekly from the Greater Orlando Center for Spiritual Living. If this episode supported you in any way, we invite you to stay connected. Listen again, share it with someone you care about, or simply carry what resonated with you into your week. Until next time, take good care and keep growing in spirit.